An important theme of this week's Torah portion is it's all how you look at it. Let's explore what I mean. Shalom, my friends. It's Akiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. This week's Torah portion is called Re'eh, which comes from the Hebrew word le'ot, which means to see. And it begins by saying, Moses, remember, is giving this big speech to the nation in the final 5 weeks of his life. And he's talking about how God has placed before the nation a bracha and a klala, a blessing and a curse. And he uses the language of seeing. He said, see, I've placed before you a blessing and a curse. And the Hasidic tradition of Judaism, which usually likes to see things underneath the surface, what's going on behind the words, behind the verse, what's the spiritual idea that is fueling, so to speak, the verse, teaches that what we can learn from this opening verse of this week's Torah portion is that so much of what we experience in the world, so much of what we experience in our lives, whether we see things as blessings or as curses, whether we see things as good or bad, has to do with us, with how we see things, with our perspective, with our vantage point, with our understanding. Not so much the reality out there, right? We learn that we can't change most of reality. If, let's be honest, maybe none of it, right? It's happening without our control. We don't have control, and that's why so often people who really need control of things, it's very, very hard in life because so much of life we don't have control over. What we do have control over, though, is our inner world, our perspective, the way we view things, the way we see things, the way we understand and judge things. And two people can look at the same situation, and one can see it as a blessing, and one can see it as a curse. One can see it as good, and one can see it as bad. How is that possible? It's the same exact situation. Therein lies the idea, the teaching, that it's not the experience, it's not the external thing that automatically has to cause us to feel or think a certain way. How we feel and how we think comes from within. We choose, we have the power to choose, right? Oftentimes it doesn't feel like we do because we're just so used to doing this knee-jerk reaction kind of judgment thing. Well, of course I feel angry because look what just happened. Or of course I think that's bad. Look what it is. How can that possibly be good? Right? It's very easy to go into that space, and let's be honest, many of us, if not all of us, we often do. But what the Torah portion is teaching us here, right? So often, every single week, week after week, the Torah is trying to teach us spiritual tools for this world to live in, right? And how to live better lives and how to live the best life. And so the advice that we're getting from the very beginning of this week's Torah portion is that you are in control. You do have control. Maybe not out there in the world, but inside, absolutely you do. And you can choose how you view things. You can choose how you look at things, how you understand things, right? If your knee-jerk reaction is to label things quickly as bad, pause, stop, think about it. Maybe how is there something good in this actually? Right? And yes, we're humans, and yes, we have a tendency to sometimes to go with those knee-jerk reactions. It makes sense. It's not to judge ourselves, not to feel bad about ourselves, but it is to motivate ourselves, inspire ourselves to maybe try a little harder, take a little bit more time, and look for the good, look for the blessing, right? Because it's there. It's there. We just sometimes need to work to find it. We just need to take a few extra moments in order to see it. And that's what we're learning from this week's Torah portion. Another powerful thing that we learn about in this week's Torah portion is the Shmita year, the sabbatical year. We learn about it a few times throughout the Torah, and this week's Torah portion is one of the times that we learn about it, where the ancient Israelites were commanded once every 7 years to stop working their fields, to stop working their farms. Right now, today, if you say once every 7 years, farmers can't work, you might think, okay, well, that's not so hard. I'm not a farmer. In fact, I don't know any farmers. Most people I know are not farmers. 98% of us are not farmers. Not a big deal. Besides the fact that, well, where's our food going to come from? That's a big deal. But in the ancient world, almost everyone was a farmer. That meant for the entire year, an entire year, the seventh year out of this cycle, right? They would work for 6 years and let their land rest for the seventh year, all on the same cycle, all at the same time. Kind of like the weekday Shabbat, 6 days of work, seventh day you rest. Back then, everyone was a farmer basically, so everyone was doing this thing. Right? How do they do that? What does society look like? How do they get food? If you're not working your fields every single day, at least 6 days a week, how are you getting food? Where's it coming from? And so God makes a promise. Right? And the Torah says, don't worry, the food will come. The food will come. Right? Know that it's not always and only in your hands. Know that it doesn't always have to come from your labor. Food can come in other ways as well. And I can make food grow, right? And I can make an abundance of food grow in the year leading up to the sabbatical year to make sure that you have food throughout that year that you're not working your fields, right? It takes a lot of trust, it takes a lot of faith, okay? But that's one of the big ideas of the sabbatical year is, can you trust? Can you be in that place of faith? Can you say that, yes, while going back to that theme of control, that while I do control what happens in my fields for 6 years and how much produce comes out, not full control, let's be honest, how much wind is, how much rain is coming, what's the temperature like, are there plagues or locusts or other things that might damage my crops? It's not all in a farmer's control, of course, but there is a sense of, and there is an amount of control that a farmer has. How much work are they doing? How much time are they putting into their farm? Right? Are they taking care of their plants the way that they need to be taken care of? Right? And then the seventh year comes and they relinquish all that control. They say, it's not in my control, it's not in my hands. Right? I'm placing my faith in God. Right? I'm placing my trust in God that I'll still get through this. It's a big deal. Right? And so we see this very powerful theme in these two different aspects of this week's Torah portion having to do with control. Right? That we're not always in control, right? But it is up to us, and we do have control how we view things, how we see things out there in the world. Can we see the good? Can we see the blessing? If we do, right, it's because we're open to it, right? If we see it, it's because we believe it's there, right? And we do have that ability, and we do have that power, and this week's Torah portion teaches us all about it. All the best, my friends, and Shabbat Shalom.